Hey y'all, this is Allison. I was hanging out in my space to craft and decided to tackle this 2-page layout using all of the fun elements I have from 49 & Market Artistry's Sunburst collection. I have the file folders, some wordy bits, which I end up not using many of, and the cluster pack. I added this water wavy paper to the page kit before I started. I also pulled out this dark green, but I didn't love it with the brighter turquoises that are in the 49 and Market elements. So because I'm going to piece together the background, I pulled out this thin paper. This gray is not really a color I would use. I will end up flipping it over and taping onto the white part of it. This is just real thin paper. I like to use this when I'm paper piecing a background together because it doesn't add as much bulk rather than using a cardstock piece. And it's less expensive than proper cardstock. So I have these words, they're sort of travel words, and I like the blue tone of it. And then I also have this ledger, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with the ledger, but I'm going to end up using it to create a column. And I'm just going to use the wavy blue at the bottom, and then I have this orange. Normally I would put the yellow at the top, but I'm going to put it in the middle because it's got shells and stuff on it, like it's sort of like it's sand, except it's yellow. But I like that, and separating those two blues. So I do start to tear this on video, and then my video stopped, so you don't get the whole process. But I have one 4x6 and then 3. I actually use all 4x3s on the page, on the 2-page layout. So I'm going to do a column using 3 of the photos, and then the picture of the boats I'm going to add to the other side, because that is very typical of Costa Maya to me. So this was in Costa Maya, Mexico. It was our first stop on our cruise, and we really just wanted to do a beach day there. That's what my daughter loves to do. We were a little disappointed. This time of year, they get a lot of seaweed washed up onto the eastern shore of the peninsula, the Yucatan Peninsula. And so the water was not the pretty blue that we expected. Now, Cozumel was still... Sorry about that, you guys. So on the leeward side of Cozumel, it was the beautiful clear blue beaches that were blue water that we're used to. And the windward side had the seaweed and stuff like that. However, that will clear up in the winter. So really, I guess the winter is the better time to go to Costa Maya. So I've pulled out some file folders. One of them I tore in half because I wasn't going to use it as an actual file folder. The other one is an envelope, and then there's a white piece. Some of these are from the cluster kit, and some were from that file folder kit. So I'm just going to sort of layer those up and create a little stack. And I'm not sure if that's how it ends up in the end. When I go to put everything together and ink them, I may switch these up a little bit. But I honestly, I couldn't decide which way I liked better. Both ways worked. So I'm just sort of auditioning pieces and seeing how I'm going to make this cluster. I do stick pretty closely to the clusters, except that it had a slot for like 2 4x3 photos, and I'm obviously using one 4x6. I did tear these little palm fronds in half. The lower half is not as easy to use, but I do make it work. And I just wanted to make sure that I had enough to get one on the other side of the page as well, since I'm using essentially 2 clusters in this 2-page layout, and then I create a third small cluster. There are so many elements in these cluster kits by 49 and Market. They have their 4 clusters that they show you, their idea of how to make them, but there's so many more elements included in the laser cuts and things like that, that you could make all of these and probably make twice as many clusters. So plenty to work with. I would buy these cluster kits again because I like the variety of elements that you get. You get wordy bits and the folders, the backing pieces, plus florals, buttons, string, so much neat stuff. So I would definitely buy these again. Of course, life would have been easier had I bought them with the Artistry Sun paper, but I actually got these in a mystery kit from 49 and Market, which I would also do again. There was a lot of good stuff in that mystery box. So I'm just laying these out on that ledger paper, and I'm going to end up tearing the ledger paper. So I'm trying this out, and I decide I'll add a little bit more green. There are, because of the green palm fronds and things like that, there's green in the clusters. So I tear both ends of this, trying to lean into that tearing motif that I used. And then this one, I'm just tearing to get the white. I'm going to tuck it in there so that I get a little bit of that paper on the left-hand side as well. Then I've got all these elements. I need to build that cluster out. And those layering pieces changed as well, I think, by the time I finished. And here I'm trying to create the cluster so that it's where it's not going to obscure too much of important elements in the photos. And that's not its final resting place. So I'm really liking building out these. But there are a couple elements I didn't use. I didn't use the buttons. I did use some of the string. I switched out some of the words and like the little file tabs. But there are lots to choose from, so it doesn't really matter. I added these little tabs, labels, and I also added that details little journal box as well. All right, so I've gone off and I have inked everything, stuck it all down, and it came with some clothespins, little miniature clothespins. I pulled it apart because it's so dimensional, it just won't work in our book. You can really only use those if you're maybe for a card, or if you're, putting one of these up on the wall. But it's two-dimensional for inside a book, honestly. So I'm going to, I broke it in half, and then I just added some silver in the hole where the wire was to make it look like there was a wire there. Some little silver Nuvo drops. And then I'm going to glue them on so that it looks like it's holding this little banner that says Beach Day, but it's not really. This I end up having to move over a little bit. And I'm really pretty pleased with that. And now we're just going to do some enamel dots. We're almost done with this page. It took me a while to ink everything and get it stuck down, but I was really pleased with it. And 3 little clusters. And then I'm going to add some gold shimmer sprinkles around, because I think that's kind of appropriate. Just trying to protect my photos there. And I think we're ready for some close-ups. Thanks for hanging with me in my space to craft. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are not subscribed, and come back for more fun content. I've got a few more cruise pages to do and lots more fun to share with you.